Okay, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brent.
Man, I'm here with the vet, Ian Griffin. Let's do this.
Man, it's a pretty day today. So, hey, today we're going to talk about the upcoming election. How does that sound?
Wow. That sounds great. I'm excited about it.
Yes, so we got a bunch of candidates out there. You know, all the conventions are pretty much done, and so I think we just need to talk about the candidates for a little bit. So I'm going to start it out with the candidate everybody knows is from the Green Party, Howie Hawkins. He's a former Marine, Semper Fi. He ran for U.S. Senate against Hillary Clinton back in the day for New York. He pulled 1.2% of the vote, and his running mate is Angela Nicole Walker. And she's she's a former Socialist Party USA Vice President. She's from Milwaukee. She worked 2 years for Greyhound as a driver. I don't know much more about the two, except that I do know Howie Hawkins spent a lot of time dealing with, intertwined with unions. But other than that, I don't know a whole lot about those two. And then we have go ahead.
I don't know much about them either. I do know this, that our political system is set up pretty much as a two-party system, even though we do have the Green and Libertarian. I would wish that there would be more involvement from other parties that would maybe bring some of their ideologies into the other, and maybe that would represent more of the country. Maybe it would kind of bring us to a little bit of a middle. But right now and in the last, I mean, you have to think about it, pretty much for the last almost 200 years, we've had two parties dominating everything.
No, Coach, I agree. And I've often said that if we could have a third party that could pull at least 28% of a vote, then we would put balance in the parties finally. Because the balance is never there. Because whenever you have a third party or fourth party, the other two parties just ostracize the party. But anyway,
Sure.
The next party I got is the Libertarian Party, which is Jo Jorgensen. She's running. She's a former vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party back in '96. And she also ran for a congressional district in South Carolina. And her running mate is Jeremy Spike Cohen. I don't know him either, but that's the Libertarian Party. And then after that, we have the Democratic Party, which has the former vice president, Joe Biden. He's a senator from Delaware previously also. And he picked his running mate to be Kamala Harris, the current senator from California, former attorney general of California, as well as a district attorney for San Francisco. And then finally, we have the incumbent, which is the Republican Party, which is Donald Trump, who has very little political experience, only these last 3.5 some years.
Right.
A businessman, and Mike Pence, who's a former governor of Indiana, and he is the current vice president. So on the overarching thing, that's our candidates. And I got a little bit to talk about them, but I'll let you go ahead a little bit on this here, Coach.
Well, one of the things that stands out to me immediately is we used to always have in politics, especially in the 20th century, if you had a northern politician running, you'd want to find you a vice president from the South.
Yep.
To bring both bring that together. And now I see both of these parties, if you think about it, we've got a Midwestern vice president in Pence, and we've got a New Yorker in Trump, and that's really not historically balanced either. And then you've got about as far as you can get north in Delaware and far as you can get west in California. The South is being left out a lot of this politics, but what we're going to see is the South is going to determine probably this election closer than it would have been prior to COVID. But I do think the South is going to play a huge part in this. But yeah, not seeing a Southern candidate like Kennedy choosing Johnson and something like that is very unusual historically for president.
I agree. And you know, one thing that I always thought as a presidential candidate, you choose somebody who can pull one of those big states that you couldn't pull before. So if you couldn't pull Texas before, but you have somebody down there that can, you definitely want to pick that person. Or if you couldn't pull Michigan, but you have somebody in there that can help you pull Michigan, that's who you kind of want. That's just on the strategy side. But that's just my thoughts on it. And
Oh no, I think you're right.
and overall on these candidates, though, I got a couple experiences with them that I'd just like to talk about a little bit. I would like to talk about Joe Biden, the former vice president, who's current the Democratic candidate for president. And I do think his story, you know, the tragedies he's had in his life, I think they're, man, I mean, those, how can anybody not appreciate what he's come from in regards to that? I mean, life has really gave him a crappy set of cards, and he's taken on the chin. No man should ever have to bury, no man or woman should ever have to bury their children, and he has.
Right.
And for that, my hat's off to him. Just on that part right there, he's faced adversity that most of us hopefully will never have to face. And then I will say on Mike Pence, I've never met Mike Pence, but my wife lost a soldier in Afghanistan who was from Indiana. And when she lost a soldier from Afghanistan, Mike Pence personally called his mother and talked to her for 30 minutes. And I will tell you that I had somebody, I told them that story once, and they tried to dismiss it and go, well, you know, it was his staffers that did that. No, I'm throwing it out there. It was Mike Pence who made the call. The staffers might say it's a good idea, but at the end of the day, he had to pull the trigger on that, and he had to make the decision. And I will tell you, to that family right there, to that mother, when she was at a time in her life when, you know, she was kicked down in the dirt as far as you can get kicked down, and she just needed someone to give a crap, and Mike Pence was there to give a crap to her, you know, to sit there and try to console her.
What a great story.
And, you know, just a great, phenomenal human being in my mind. And then I got the privilege of seeing President Trump. I didn't get to go shake his hand. He was on the tarmac. Didn't get to see him. And I will say this is my wife also, and I thought about this. She got to meet Jill Biden and Michelle Obama, and she didn't have anything negative to say to either one of them, but she did talk high regard to Jill Biden. It's not a knock on Michelle Obama. She just said that Jill Biden really struck her in a way that she just seemed very nice and sincere, just to her persona and not personality. And I just wanted to throw those things out there because I think those human things mean something a little, you know, when it comes to certain things. And but anyway, that's just my few thoughts on that.
Well, what I want to do on this this podcast is not really get too political myself with, you know, being conservative or being, you know, liberal. But I would like to say some things that are personal. One of the things I've always thought about Joe Biden is he looks like an American. He looks like an American politician. He served his country well. One of the things that Obama did by giving him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, I believe, was a great thing. And that moment that happened as a surprise is one moment, as I consider myself a historian, that I'll probably never forget. The surprise that Biden had, you knew when you saw the tears in his eyes, those were real. Mm-hmm. And I think he really loves his country. Joe Biden has served us for over 40 years. I mean, I think that's a great American. Talking about Kamala Harris, I don't have a lot of high regard for her politically. Don't know a lot about her. What I have done is I remember too much of the Kavanaugh hearing. I think that's going to be my issue with Kamala Harris is we're guilty until proven innocent when it comes to Kavanaugh, a man that has served also this country for decades instead of the innocent until proven guilty. That will be something that'll I'll have a hang up on. Pence to me is a very good co-pilot. He's going to sit back, do and say what the boss man says to do it. He does it. He's very calm. He's very patient. Totally opposite of Trump. Trump is not a politician. Someone asked me one time, because I teach government history. What do you think about President Trump as a president? I said, well, he's not presidential. But in the day and age that we live in the time that came after Obama, you could almost see something like that happening, because there was such a divisiveness that happened from about 2010 to about 2016 that the normal politician was not something the country wanted, or the majority of the country wanted. And so Trump's style is Trump's style. I mean, the way I look at it is, if I had a family business that was about to fail, would I contact Donald Trump to fix that business, or would I contact a politician? And it would be Donald Trump. So I think where he was and where we were as a country in 2012, 2014, and 2016, leading up to that, I think he was a great presidential candidate for that time period. But now, since we've had all this turmoil over the last, say, 2 years, the way politics has gone from Russian hoax, I mean, you can go all the way through anything from the impeachment. I don't know if many people are going to switch sides and do the normal, well, let's get somebody from a state. No, you just look at this. If the Democrats win Florida, they might win the election. Yeah. Why not pick somebody from Florida? Why pick somebody from California? You're going to get California not even going out there.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think a lot of times they look at emotion on the Democratic side. They don't look at actually historically the Electoral College and how to win. So Vet, tell me what you think about that.
So I do think most people know me that I am pretty much a pretty solid conservative. I do think one of the most fundamental differences is in the parties is one thinks with emotion and executes off emotion, and one thinks of facts and studying them a little bit and then executes off facts. Being a soldier, emotions get you killed, facts and critical analysis saves the day, and then if you don't have a good policy to stand on, and that's what I'm seeing right now, and my Friday Stop to Ponder, on Friday, the do not demonize, the people is kind of my deal over that is at the end of the day, none of these guys are, we'll try to call, since the last 30 years, we've tried to call them either Hitler, racist, or whatever. None of them are any of those things, and we all know that. So let's just go ahead and get away from that, because that's not even adult talk, to be quite honest. And but there are people who have policies, or we would hope they have policies, we'll say that, or agenda that they want to see the country go to. And I kind of look at it as like this, is I align myself more on the fact of, do I agree with those policies or those agendas, or do I disagree with them? When you talked about Kamala Harris, I know what we read in the news, and I know what we study about her a little bit, but I do agree with you. There's a fundamental in this country that when you break that fundamental, and every man and woman has their own fundamentals that's important to them, but the simple thing of innocent until proven guilty, and you break that, oh my gosh. I mean, what else are you willing to break when you break that? And I know we're going to have a conversation on that later, but that's a hard one for me to get over. I just hate to break the news to you, because myself, I have personally been accused of things that, thank God, I had leadership that goes, okay, let's let it play out and let's see where it goes. And that was the right thing to do. And I've had family members accused of some serious stuff that if we just go off an accusation, that I would be visiting them in jail an awful lot for something that they didn't do, And then, of course, just the Nick Sandmann thing. I mean, geez, we chastised that guy.
Oh, my gosh.
And that was a kid. At the end of the day, that was a kid. Peel all the stuff back. Let's get down to a fundamental. That was a kid. But, that's neither here nor there. I just think that, and I know most of the people will go vote off of emotion, but I just wish that we would vote off of what we believe in as a policy and an agenda type thing, because it doesn't have to be personal. It doesn't have to be, I hate somebody, why can't it just be that I just don't agree with his policies, and so I'm not going to vote for him? You know, why do I have to demonize the guy or the gal
Absolutely.
or whoever it is? You know, so those are just some things that I kind of think along the lines of that.
Well, Vet, one of the things that I think about is you're correct. It doesn't need to be personal, but that has become the politics of the 21st century. It started late in the 20th century, and it reminds me of the greatest president on our top 5 president list was George Washington. Was for me. George Washington said that he was very concerned about foreign debt, but his biggest concern was political parties, because people would start being too concerned about party more than they were about the country. And I do believe that we're seeing that right now, that no matter what happens, it's black against white, north against south, green against red. You know, whatever it is, one side's going to pick the other based on what the party identity politics says, and instead of the factual data that's right in front of you. The emotions are running the left like crazy. The right terrified of losing their country as they consider it. And so there's really just such a division based on just emotion.
Yeah. So Coach, I'll say this is, and people know I served our country for 31 years, you know, and I'm an American and I'm a Texan. Beyond and above any party whatsoever, I'm aligned to the country of America and the great state of Texas. Above any party. You can go change the name of the party. You can go throw the party's name away. You can come in and run as, I don't know, a sportsbatarian. You can go run as that person right there. And if I think you're the best guy, that's who I'm going to vote for if it's best for our country. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. But we do have people out there that it's more important to be that party than it is to be an American. In fact, it's more important to be that party than to respect what America stands for. And that's insane, if you ask me.
And it is insanity. And I've had people just on social media in the last year and a half, I start saying that I like something that Trump does, or I post an article of something that the conservatives have done that I like, or even sometimes I posted one a few months ago about something that I didn't like that Trump did. But immediately people put me in a box and say, well, you're just a Republican. You're just a conservative. No, I'm an American.
Yeah.
And there's many elections that I have voted for since I've been able to vote. I voted for Clinton twice. I voted for Barack Obama once. My dad would roll on his grave just because he was one of those guys we're talking about.
Yep.
We just vote Republican. My grandmother just voted Democrat. So I don't vote for party. I understand that the party that I align myself now with the most are conservative values, and those conservative values at this point in our history are being aligned with the Republican Party. But 10 years from now, it could be opposite. I want the best for the American country and the American people.
I'll say this is my wife. We've had discussions, and she came from Germany, and she's often talked that between us, is she was raised to vote one side, and she's voted that way the whole time. And she said, I'd be disowning the family if I didn't vote that way. And then she goes, after the last 3 elections, she goes, I realized that I've been voting against myself, against this country, by voting that way.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was a wake-up call. I'm like, yeah, you don't have to vote a Democrat because all your family voted for Democrat, and you don't have to vote Republican because all your family voted Republican. Maybe you just got to vote for the guy or gal who best supports your ideas of what America is.
Absolutely. And Vet, I do that in the classroom every year that there's going to be a presidential election, or there's going to be an important election. I'll put 7 to 10 issues on the board. And I'll ask somebody, or I ask our class on a piece of paper, you put a check on this side or this side, if it's abortion, if it's taxes, if it's whatever. At the end of that list, that is who you are. If there's 4 on the left and 3 on the right, I'm not talking about Democrat, Republican, but if you are for something or against something, that is your ideology. Now match your ideology up against the candidate. If you'll do that, you'll do this country a better service than going, I'm going to line myself and have to change myself just because they say, my friends and family say, I need to be Democrat or I need to be Republican.
Well, Coach, I really like this segment. I think we did good at trying to keep it pretty much neutral. And what we'd like to really is to have everybody come on and tell us what they think of their candidate, why they like their candidate. We want to flood it because maybe we learned something about their candidate that we didn't know. You know, why do you support either President Trump and Mike Pence or Vice President Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? Or maybe you support the Green Party, and why do you support the Green Party? You know, or maybe you support the Libertarian Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen. You know, why do you support all those people? What did they do that makes you want to go support them? We'd love to hear that. I don't want to hear stuff like, you know, well, this person sucks or this person, you know, ain't worth a crap or, you know, and all that other stuff or baby killer and all that. We want to know why you support them. Mm-hmm. And if there's a reason why you don't support them, besides, you know, you just got a Johnny attitude, I like to know that too, kind of, too. You know, what's the one thing, like, maybe it's the innocent till proven guilty, maybe it's something else, you know, that really rings with you, that you just can't grapple voting for that person.
Yeah, and one thing I'd add is I would like to add to that. I would love to hear, and I do this with my students, I'd love to hear something positive, the reason that you're going to vote for someone. Let me give you an example. The reason I'm going to vote for Trump, this is not me, this is an example. The reason I'm going to vote for Trump is I believe that he is more pro-American when it comes to businesses. And I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because I believe he is more pro Medicaid for everyone. Just give me something and give me a reason why you think that's why you want to vote for someone. Don't just say, I'm going to not vote for Trump because he's racist. I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden because has dementia. I mean, all these things that you hear about all the time. Well, let's have this as a positive comment. Tell me why, because you know what? You can teach us all something. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn something.
I agree. I think it's been a good segment, and I'm really looking forward to it. And speaking of this segment, I just want to throw this out there for everybody is, hey, Saturday the 5th September, Coach and myself will be out on Lake Cypress Springs riding a boat out there, so come check us out if you get a chance. And I think it's 9:30 or so we'll be out there. And come check us out if you get a chance. We'd love to put you on the podcast, hear your thoughts and comments and things of that nature.
Yeah, come on out and see us. You won't miss us. We'll have a big banner on the side of the pontoon boat. Also, we got some big news coming up of another location we're going to be at. I'm going to leave that to another segment. But Vet, I love this one. I can't wait for I really hope we have a debate, but I can't wait for the political season. It's one of my favorites every year.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. And from the coach
to the Vet.
Stay tuned with us, and we'll keep you informed. Thank you very much.